Christmas. How are you? Can you tell that this is, the mayor's got his annual candy cane in his pocket. He carries that with him throughout the year, but actually only just shows it during the actual Christmas program. Me, I'm wearing a red jacket and that's it. No, I mean, black shirt and Christmas tie and if all of these colors aren't right, adjust your television set, and maybe that's the problem that you're having. This is the this is the first mayor's show since we got him back again. Round two is going to see if what he can do to us or do for the town of Newington for the next couple of years. And it's the 4th of December, so we're just finishing it up this year and then going into January. And congratulations, Roy.
Thank you, Steve.
Mayor Z.
Thank you,
How
Steve.
are you?
Good.
Were you surprised? Were you feeling comfortable?
I went in not knowing what to expect.
Really?
So I was pleasantly surprised by the end of the evening.
Plus, we had a lot of absentee ballots and stuff.
Yeah.
There was a lot of stuff coming in after the fact.
There's a lot of ballots that had to be hand counted. There were the absentee ballots. There was a recount for one council seat because of the margin being close enough to trigger a recount.
I saw that, yeah.
That was 8 to 12 hour event, going through every ballot, and recounting them. Didn't change the final outcome, however.
But it was a bit of a squeaker there.
It was a squeaker. It was, at least for me, a very tiring campaign this time around.
So what now you're a Republican.
Yeah.
So how does just in case if anybody's watching, he is a Republican. And how does it break up now in the council?
5 Democrats, 4 Republicans.
Okay, so they got you a little bit.
It's a changeover from what it had been, which was 5 Republicans, 4 Democrats.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
A little bit of a flip around there.
And the Board of Education is now 5 Democrats and 4 Republicans.
Okay.
So
then you've got your challenges out there, but not much. I mean, everybody, pretty much everybody that was running this time was pretty decent.
I think both sides want the same thing for the town. We may have different ways of getting there, but at heart both sides have the best interests of the town at heart.
And the referendum, I mean, that passed really landslide.
Referendum, let me tell you, that the margin for that was a lot greater than I expected. Because what I had been picking up and talking to people was that it was going to be a lot closer. And I gave it myself a 50-50 chance of passing, but gee,
really? It was like 2/3, right?
3-2.
Yeah.
So
that was something. Well, that'll be good. That means we have to go ahead to spend the money, but we have to go ahead.
Well,
how does that work? It's $28 million, right?
So $28.8 million.
Okay.
Work is beginning. There's design work. There's preparation work for the demolition of the existing town hall. That all has to be worked out in advance. There's work going on between the Town Hall Building Committee and the library trustees over parking issues. There's work being done on utility segregation because these things have been built up gradually, piecemeal, one piece on top of another. So we've got electrical feeding the police department, the library, the town hall, all running off the same poles, maybe sometimes even off the same big wire. We've got telephone wiring, we've got data cabling and fiber optic cabling. All that's got to be identified and segregated. We obviously can't have police department run without electricity.
Now they frown upon that.
And yeah, they don't like that. They get awfully testy about things like that.
Speaking of the police department, I see you. You finally got yourself a kind of a bodyguard like the governor has.
My security detail. Our guest tonight is Chief Steve Clark, Newington Police Department.
Now, how long? Welcome, Steve. I'm going to reach across the mayor there.
Quite all
Good to
right.
see you. Good to see you. Now, how long you been on now?
Almost 2.5 years.
Wow! Holy cow!
Yeah.
Quick.
A lot of
Quick.
a lot of changes happening with you guys, right?
Yeah, a lot of changes. We changed we worked a lot on our infrastructure, moved more towards a community policing model, made some changes, went up with a new records management system, computer-aided dispatch system. It's integrated with the mobile units out in the cars. So we went up with that. It's coming up on a year now. December 12th is when we went live, so we're almost a year into that. We're working on the new radio tower.
Oh wow, that'll be great.
Cedar Crest having to come off the building, so we're moving forward with that. We're in the process of working out a lease agreement with Balf for a section of their property on the quarry. So there's a lot going on. We're in the process of reviewing and updating all our policies and procedures. It's a very labor-intensive process when you think about, police are a paramilitary organization. Everything we do is.
Excuse me, I just want to make sure, when you say paramilitary, just so there's a few people at home that may not know what that term is, and maybe one or two up here. What does that mean?
Basically, there's a chain of command. Everything's done by directives, special orders. We have policies and procedures, just like the military, that have to be followed. So we're updating our policies, and just so you have an idea of how much is involved, there's 87 chapters. And within those chapters, there could be anywhere from one policy to as many as 12. So there's a lot of work. Some of the liability-driven policies, like pursuit, use of force, use of police canines. I've had those policies reviewed by an attorney who specializes in police liability, just to make sure those policies are on firm footing to help insulate the town and the department from civil litigation. So we're probably about 25% through that, but we're working on that, and hopefully we'll have that completed by the spring.
Well, the mayor had sent this note out that he wanted to. You're getting a lot. Stop.
What is that?
It's okay.
Oh,
Put
it's
that
fine.
over there. Okay. You're not wearing any shoes. No, excuse me. The mayor had said that he wanted to have you in. So, Mr. Mayor, what's your concern, and why the police with us?
I'm busy futzing with my
Don't worry about it.
microphone.
You're okay. Stick that in your pocket.
There we go.
Just a hamster.
All right, now we're all set. We're in that time of year where you get a lot of people spending money, and a lot of people on the roads, and a lot of people going to parties, and
Right.
a lot of people sometimes drinking a little too much. So this is a time when I imagine you guys are really going
We're
to be
busy.
busy. And
For traffic safety, and I know it sounds kind of cliche, but you don't drink and drive. There is a lot of holiday parties. I myself have some parties this weekend and next weekend. So, but you want to make sure that you have a designated driver. Use a taxi, use Uber. You don't want to get caught driving while under the influence.
Those numbers must have been dropped quite a bit in the last 5 years or so, right?
They have.
Especially young people understand that,
Well, the younger population, they really utilize Uber.
Uber, yeah. They live for
going
it.
into West Hartford Center, going into the Hartford.
Yeah.
They use it all the time, which is a good thing. You don't want to get caught driving while under influence. Obviously, if you get in an accident and you hurt somebody, if you cause serious injury, you're looking at an assault second charge. God forbid if somebody were to lose their life, it's manslaughter second. So, you're looking at substantial prison time should that happen. But, you want to enjoy the holidays, but at the same time, you want to be safe. So if you have a designated driver, or if you're going to stay overnight, but just make that, a priority. As you're going out shopping, and at the mall or some of the stores, you want to be aware of where you're parking. And you want to park in a well-lit area. If you can park close to the store, that's fine. It'd be a lot better. If you got to work at it a little bit and drive up and down the aisle until you find a safe spot, you should try to do that. If you're concerned about walking out by yourself, see if there's a store employee that can accompany you. Better yet, if you could do your shopping with one or two other people as a group, so you stay together. But you always want to be vigilant. You want to be aware of your surroundings, and really, it's not just for the holidays. It's
All the time.
It's all the time. The worst thing you do is have your face buried in your phone when you're walking out, not paying attention to your surroundings or talking on the phone. You want to have a plan. It's almost like being a police officer. We go to calls, especially when I was working the road. You always wanted to be one or two steps ahead of the person you were dealing with. It was that what-if game. If this person does this, I'm going to respond this way. No different. When you walk out in public, you want to be aware of your surroundings, and if you feel uncomfortable, chances are it's good reason.
Now, if you're just joining us right now, that's Steve Clark, our chief of the Newington PD. We are live on your community access television station, NCTV 14. Mayor Z, I'm Steve Parker. We have introduced something new here. So for those of you who are sitting at home, you've got, whether you've got a Droid or whether you've got an iPhone or not, we're actually going to take text, okay? So sometimes text is easier. You can call in at 667-5814, or you can text us, and our text is 305-9801, okay? So a lot of times it's more convenient than trying to get up and get to your laptop or whatever, send in a question. So if you have a specific question, this being live on December 4th, a little bit after 7 o'clock, you can text us any questions you have at 860-305-9801, and that means we'll get this right here, and I can ask the police chief or the mayor anything that you have that's rolling around in your mind. A lot of times it may be, guys are doing a great job, happy holidays, or it might be, you have some concerns or something that you saw around town. We know on Facebook a lot of times the PD takes a lot of, you take a lot of guff like, all the political people do. In many cases, people are more comfortable writing. That's why there's a lot of writing on Facebook. So that's why we figured if you don't want to come up on the air with us and you don't want to email us, you can text us 305-9801. So if you want to give it a shot, test our text out, you can go ahead 305-9801. And that means if we're live, you can do that. If it's not the 4th of December, it's not a little after 7 o'clock, don't try to text because we won't get that. Okay, so Steve, here we are, going into a new year. It looks like we're going to be, possibly taking down the town hall and building up a new town hall. How's that going to affect you guys as far as your working goes?
The biggest concern we have is our communication center, because as you know, it's literally in the old town hall.
That's right.
For people that have lived in town for many, many years and went to high school here, it's in the old music room.
The music room.
So we're going to be working with the architect for them to try to figure out how they could, because they're going to basically demo the building, and how they're going to do that without interrupting our communication center. It may be where we have to relocate up into the squad room. Last year we had a pipe break in the dispatch center, flooded out the dispatch center, so we closed it off and we moved everything upstairs. So we may have to do that. So that's kind of a planning stage right now, but we just don't know the impact that's going to have. I know when they've done work previously, when they drill through a concrete floor, I mean, it's loud. And that's not a place where you don't want it needs to be quiet. So when they take those phone calls, they listen to the radio. They can, hear what's going on. So we'll be in the process of working with the architect and the construction company how the best way to do that.
Not only the issue of demolition of the town hall, but what I was mentioning earlier too about the utility segregation, because again, we can't have a dispatch center running without electricity. We can't have a police department running without electricity. So and we've got to keep the phone lines and the data lines intact as well. So the architect and construction manager have their marching orders.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they've got the challenges ahead of them, and got every confidence that they will meet the challenge.
Well, I think, Chief, one of the excuse me, one of the concerns that I've always had here in town, and I mean, I don't know what kind of between you and the mayor what we'd have to go through to get it done, but it would really be good if in the town of Newington we could have some sort of emergency band, a radio band. Like, you go to some towns and let's say the Extravaganza was on, and you come into town and you tune into AM, 11 whatever, and you could tell you the parking, tell you what's going on. But more importantly than that, if everything goes down, if a bad storm or even if there's some sort of don't leave your house, there's gas in the area, an emergency band like that, or you could just tell people if there's ever a problem here in town, go to that. And even if it's just a recorded message,
Right.
people seem to forget when the power's gone for 3 or 4 days, your
Yep.
cell will be gone too,
Right.
and you've got no computer, and you got your AM, or you've got your transistor radio or your battery-powered radio. Have you guys ever thought about that, or expense involved, or anything?
No, I mean, that's something we could talk about with the local emergency planning committee.
Yeah.
As far as notification.
I always see it in towns when you go somewhere. There's got to be something, and I'm a radio guy, but I don't understand that side of it. But I do know, like even any place you go, they might only have it working for a certain period of time.
Right. Everything that we do now in terms of notification is basically technology based.
Yeah.
You lose the internet, you lose your
Yeah.
cell phone. It hinders our ability to get the message out. Back in the old days, it was drive through the neighborhood with a police PA and make notifications.
But we were
that
talking
way.
about that with the fire department.
Yeah.
Right.
You had to. It was like we didn't even have the phone. The
Yeah.
alarm went off. Everybody got to the firehouse.
I
Why?
remember I was a small kid. It was my father was on the fire department, and they did a drill where on the railroad tracks on Stam Road they simulated a tanker overturning and burning, and they were coming through the neighborhoods
Yeah.
on bullhorns to tell people, to
Yeah.
evacuate. So, I mean, if necessary, if that's the only thing you have available, that's what you use. But having a radio with the ability to broadcast that message is a good idea.
Might be worth exploring with a couple of other neighboring departments
Yep.
as well.
Yeah, something you can put up. I think maybe. I'm sure like Cromwell or something when they have the GHO or the Travelers, whatever. Now that when you go in there, they want to tell you what lots are open and such. I saw a neat thing on television the other night too. I don't know if it was Shark Tank or what it was, but some guy has developed something, and I guess he has a patent and everything else. It's a system that the cruiser would have to actually capture the car in front of it, where it's almost like a net and a lock.
I've seen that.
Did you see that?
I've seen that. Yeah, that's. You got to get very close to the car to deploy that netting.
Wild idea, though.
It's a wild idea, especially when the car slams on its brakes and the cruiser goes into the back of it.
Well, there's some little things that got to work
Yeah,
out.
I mean, it's one thing. I
Couple of
saw some
details.
simulation and I watched it, and
Mm-hmm.
it's one thing doing it when you're going 30 miles an hour,
Yeah.
but when you're doing 95 or 100, it's a little different.
Well, it's interesting. We went out to look at a car this past, 2 weekends ago, and we were looking at the Honda CR-V. And it was interesting because the way all the protection areas are around it now. And the salesman was funny. He says, if you're going 20 and you hit someone, you won't, you can't kill them until it's 35 or 40 miles an hour. And I'm going, the salesman's explaining that, the way the vehicles are set up now, to stop, you'd have to really be moving.
Yeah.
In order to,
In
hit
my
somebody.
understanding, that netting locks everything up, so you lose that ability to. I mean, it's like hitting your
Wow.
brakes so you lose the ability to
Boggles
control
the
the car.
mind.
Yeah.
And when we get into pursuit, when you talk about pursuit policies and liability, as crazy as it sounds, the person that you're pursuing, we still have a responsibility, even though they're pursuing. They're trying to get away from you. We still have a responsibility for that car. So if we do anything that results in a crash or them, getting seriously injured or injuring somebody else, then we're going to be held civilly liable.
Now, what about what we need now? We see the governor held back a lot of money, and we've had some, we have done belt tightening is putting it mildly. How does that affect the police department, Mr. Mayor?
Right now, well, we really have to look at how we're going to deal with the revenue loss. And one of the things that's being done is actually going to be showing up in the mail later on in the month with the motor vehicle tax bills at the original rate, our original rate of 36.59. That's what the council just approved. I have to use the right term. The differential bill for the tax bills that went out last spring. So that'll be based on the 4.59 mil difference. The supplemental list is coming out. That'll be done at the 36.59 rate rather than the 32 mil rate. We're looking at that as providing us with a cash cushion. There's been a freeze imposed on hiring on major expenditures. And the staff is confident that we can squeak through till June 30th with those measures in place. I'm hoping they're right. Of course, the budget that's coming up for 2018-19 is what's going to be the challenge. You know, we're looking at reductions in state aid. Grand list, I don't see much movement in, so I don't know what's going to happen.
All right, and if you'd like to know what's going to happen, or you want to ask our mayor or our chief of police, please give us a call or a text. Call us at 860-667-5814, 667-5814. You can also email us at talktothemayor@nctv.org, this being the 4th of December, about a little coming up on 7:30 or so. Just wait a minute, I got this. Yeah, 7:23.
Is it?
So isn't it? Well, yeah, running a little fast there. So you can go directly to the top. Chief of Police or the mayor, and we just ask that you keep it to one question if you can, especially if you're texting it. But we found that out recently, that some people would rather just sit there on their in their chair and then maybe text away at a question and to keep up with the program. So feel free to give us a text to 305-9801 or call at 667-5814. And also this program, as we do with all of our Talk to the Mayor programs, we try to do the programs in such a way where they're evergreen on our website at nctv.org. So if you want to go back and look at any of our previous shows for the last few months, or anything, even this show will be put up there in a little while. So feel free to go there. And then we're going to be back again on the 8th of January, so we can also follow up on anything you saw before that. But let's keep the phone lines up there, 667-5814, or a text at 305-9801. Cool. All right. That was just a little commercial.
Did we get a text just
I can't
now?
read that one to you.
No, we didn't. Gee, what's the matter with our viewers?
Mr. Mayor, you have to understand, there's a lot of people that are intimidated by you.
Oh, yeah. I thought I was just a sweetheart.
Steve, this is a good opportunity for you to ask the mayor something yourself. Anything over there at the PD anything on your wish list that you think we need, or how are you operating? Are you at where you want to be, or are you looking for more?
How's the staffing level?
The staffing is always a challenge. We're 2 officers short right now. We have 2 slots that we haven't been able to fill. We've tested for, and we just have not found anybody that the quality of officer that we're looking for. So we tested a number of months ago, brought some people into background, and didn't make any selections based on the background. We're retesting again. We have slots for the April Academy class, but it's just a question of whether or not we're going to be able to find anybody. It's
getting tougher to get them, isn't it?
I wouldn't say it's a crisis, but we're getting there.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that don't want to go into it. Yeah,
so hard to find good people. The applicant pool is just not there anymore for whatever reason, and that's a whole nother show discussing why people don't want to get into this line of work. It's taken a hit over the years, and the job is such. You make a mistake at work, I mean, it's pretty much between your you and your boss and some of the employees, you make a mistake in this job, you're on the front page of the Hartford Courant.
Oh, yeah.
And,
Yeah.
you know,
And then
it's-
if they find out that it's innocent, you'll find that underneath the back page of the Courant,
I mean,
unfortunately.
it's something that you got to live through. It's something that your spouse, your kids, your family members have to live through, and there's a lot of people that don't want to take that risk anymore. It's just too much. So we're having a difficult time, and it's not just Newington. It's everybody.
Yeah.
I talked to the different chiefs, and but we're holding firm on what we're looking for, and we're not going to sacrifice, the standards that we have, but it is extremely difficult. We're 2 dispatchers short right now. We're trying to find dispatchers, and again, that is another very difficult job, multitasking.
Now, where does somebody train for that? I mean, to be a police officer, we know you go, to the academy or you go to college for criminal justice and all that. But what about for a dispatcher?
There's really nothing for dispatchers.
So you get them in and you have to train them.
And we train them, and it's important that if they have the skill set, I mean, you can train them. If they can multitask, if they got good communication skills. Most people coming in now are very good at keyboarding and computers, but if they have that skill set, you can train them. But it's just a very difficult job. Right now, as I said, yes, we have 2 openings. We had a lot of candidates apply. We have 7 dispatchers that are dispatch certified from other police departments that are looking to come over to Newington just based on the reputation of the department, which is good. And it helps at drawing good candidates. So we sent 3 into background. We're doing backgrounds on 3 potential candidates right now for 2 openings. But we're hopeful.
How's the pay and the benefits in Newington for, let's just say, for the PD in general? Because we know Newington's always been really an attractive place to go because of that.
We're very competitive, and that's what the draw is. And I've said this to the council at one of the budget sessions. They did a survey, and for new police recruits, what attracted you to the police department that you were hired at? And the number 1 item was pay and benefits. And then the second was reputation of the department. So we're very competitive, which is good because we're able to attract good people, and we got a good reputation. So that attracts people as well. But you look at the bigger cities, I mean, we're trying to find 2, and there's departments out there trying to hire 15, 20, 25. I don't know how they're doing it. And we were having a very difficult time just finding 2 people, let alone if we had to hire 25.
And I would imagine, and Mr. Mayor, maybe you have a better idea on this, but with all the stuff that's happening lately and all the sexual harassment stuff, and one word or one touch or whatever, I would imagine that you guys are always doing all kinds of, testing and everything of you guys, make sure they're up to speed on all that, because that's another big risk everybody's afraid of.
Right. The town has a 0 tolerance policy. It's well established, and then back in, I believe it was a few months ago that every town employee went through the training. I know the entire police department went through the training back in July just to reinforce those standards in the policy. So, but
how many women do we have on the force right now?
Well, police officers, we have, let's see, there's Norma, Megan, Ryan, Jamie.
Oh, wow.
So we have 4 patrol officers and a dispatcher.
And the way the new PD is set up.
Animal control officers.
And the accommodations as far as.
There's a separate locker room.
Yeah, well, remember, the old place was.
Back when Meg started, they had to build a locker room back then. It was like, I think Meg got hired in 80 or 81.
Yeah, that was in the old storage area.
Oh, yeah.
Barely enough light to see anything up there.
No, and the thing that you do see right now with all of this stuff happening, it's a scary thing. That's something. And the other problem that we're seeing right now that I'm sure you guys are going through training all the time is all the opiate stuff. That's huge, huge.
That's a big problem.
Do you guys have the Narcom and all that stuff?
Yeah, we've been carrying that. It was a year in May. So it's been well over a year, and we've had a lot of saves.
And the ambulance, I think, has been carrying it for quite a while.
They've been carrying it. I remember being a sergeant
Yeah.
years ago, back in the early 90s, and they were carrying it when, there were people that had overdosed, and they were issuing it back then. But, we've been carrying it since May of 2016, and we've had a number of saves. And
Just explain to people who aren't aware of what Narcom is, what it does for
it's
somebody's
basically
overdose.
for opioids, and we carry the nasal spray. So if the officers, and we're first responders for the towns, all the officers are trained in EMR, we're first responders, so, and we're always pretty much there first. So we're going to beat the ambulance there, so that's why it's important that we carry that. And it's a nasal spray, so if the patient is having signs of overdosing on opioid, the officers will administer that, and that basically counteracts the effect of the drug. And then we stabilize them. The paramedics come, but it's quick acting. You could literally have somebody that is near death, and they administer the Narcan, and it takes them right
Amazing,
out of it.
amazing.
They'll sit up and have a conversation like we're having right now. It is utterly amazing to
And
see
in
it.
some cases, we're hearing now, though, that some of the heavy users are also carrying it themselves. And they'll say, well, what the heck, if something happens, I got this with me, and it's just,
Well, you have family members
Exactly.
carrying it.
Can you get it over the counter now, too? If
You
you
can
go
get
to-
it in drugstores.
You can.
Yeah.
Yeah, every family should have that.
Yeah.
Even if there's an accident,
I think I think there may be some school districts that actually issued it out from what I've read. So it's out there, and it's quick acting, and it's amazing to see that transformation where you have somebody that is close to death, and then you administer it, and they're up having a conversation. Yeah.
Amazing. It's really a miracle drug for quite a few people. I've heard a lot of, especially with the usage that's out there right now.
But even having that out there, I mean, the number of people that still succumb to that is it's disturbing.
And they
It
keep
really
growing.
is.
The numbers are higher
Yeah,
in
and
Connecticut
it's-
and in the country.
And it's everybody. It's it's the poor, middle class, rich. It's once they get hooked on that, it's very difficult to get off it.
Yeah, a lot of people don't understand. When I was doing I still do the radio program at WTIC, and we had a father come in who had this, Gold Coast, families worth millions of dollars, and their son. And you would, how can that be down there? The silver spoons in all their mouths and everything, but you don't know. But what he was trying to explain to people was the addiction is a disease, and it's not like pick yourself up by your bootstraps. They're fighting a disease.
But you look at how it starts, and some of it is prescription drugs.
Yep.
Kids, athletes that have gotten injured that are been prescribed pain medications and get hooked on it. So. It's a difficult situation.
Hang on, I had a question for Master Control. Go ahead, Scott. I didn't get that. How much does it
It's
cost? a town?
$40 a dose.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So and everybody has it. Everybody carries it in the cruiser.
And we've had Ron Trigani from Connecticut Insurance Exchange has a group, and they actually went out and purchased some and donated it to the police department.
That's very
Speaking of
nice.
which, what about as far as canine goes? We see things in the paper about people donating, vests for dogs in different
Yep.
police departments. How are we doing in that area?
We're good.
Yeah.
We have one canine, and he's well equipped.
Who's our canine officer? Do we have
It's Eric
multiple?
Petlick. Eric Petlick.
Wait a minute. Hang on. What's his last name?
Petlick.
Petlick.
Yeah.
Petlick, and he's the canine officer.
Yeah.
You can't make this stuff up. Okay. And what's our canine's name? Oh, come on. I'm sorry, Steve. I didn't mean to put you on the
Oh,
spot.
God.
But at least you know who the officer
Yeah.
is. But you're going to have to bring the dog in. I think that would be.
Well, the dog doesn't. He pretty much stays in the car.
We don't.
Yeah, he
we don't
doesn't
need
come
it.
in the
Abby,
station.
we're good. Yeah, no, Abby wasn't big about seeing the dog, anyways.
The dog you want to bring in is one of the state police dogs because their primary purpose is sort of the public relations end rather than to catch the
And they're
bad
doing
guy
it to
in.
Bradley now too. They have the Bradley buddies, and when you
Yeah.
go to Bradley, they have these therapy dogs that are that say "Please pet me," and it's for people that are stressed out about flying. Yeah, that's really good. So so pretty much we're doing okay then. We got everything.
Yeah, we're good in that regard. So as far as the canine,
Going completely different direction. You're fresh off a pretty successful Stuffer Cruiser.
yes, our Stuffer Cruiser was on Saturday, so they was a little over 2,000 items, close to $1,000 worth of gift cards and money and donations. I will tell you it's down from the previous year.
Really?
And they were saying that the foot traffic wasn't there like it's been years past, and we were wondering if more people are shopping on the
Yep.
internet,
Yep.
and you just don't see the amount of people out there that you used to see. But they were saying that you could really see the foot traffic was a lot less than it's been in previous years. And we got the word out. Channel 30 came down on their morning show, publicized it, did an interview with CSO Jamie DeSimone. So the word got out there, and there were a number of people that had come down and said that they saw it on the news.
Good.
So, but yeah, it's just
Yeah, a lot of people shopping online.
Yeah.
And speaking of which, are you shopping for some answers from our chief of police or from our mayor? We've only got about 21 minutes to go, so if you want to give us a call, we are live right now on this, the 4th of December, and hopefully you're getting into the holiday mode, but there are some concerns coming up, I'm sure, maybe at your household. So you can call right now. We are live. It's the 4th of December, and lines are open. If it's not the 4th of December, we're not live. But we're also doing text. You can text us at 860-305-9801, and it's right here. So we can feed this right through. And that's 305-9801. Call us at 667-5814 or email us at talktothemayor@nctv.org. So feel free to do that. All right. So Steve, you're pretty well set. You need a couple of more cops, right?
Yep.
Police officers, I know.
Yes, police officer.
And what about the big question is always is the turnpike getting any better at all as far as the what you're dealing with out there with the not just the motels and the people living in that and the crime out there, but also a lot of racing up and down the pike.
We don't see the racing like we did back in the 80s and the 90s. It's just not there. What's driving a lot of our calls for service on the turnpike are the shoplifting at Walmart, Target. So that actually that drives our numbers up as far as our Part 1 crimes. And as we get ready for the budget and doing the budget narratives, I looked at 2015, our Part 1 crimes, and looked at 2016. And our Part 1 crimes in 2016 actually went down by 18%. So that's good news. We'll see what holds for 2017. But a lot of our numbers come from shoplifting. And, it's important when we talk about, economic development, bringing businesses, bringing retail in, and some of the development. It's important to make sure that, when we do that, and it's a good thing, but make sure we have public safety at the table as well, because with that comes more calls for service, whether it's police, fire, EMS. So it's always important to, have that consideration.
And we have a new officer over at the high school, right?
Yep, Dan Kaufman. And actually he was, Dan and I back at the beginning it was August, were featured on Channel 3 for high school resource officers. And Dan is doing very well. He's fit right in. If anybody knows
Good
Dan,
guy,
Dan's a big kid at heart.
Oh yeah.
And but he knows how to hit the switch and put it in gear and be a police officer when he has to be. But he's a great fit over there, and he's doing real well. I've heard nothing but positive things from the staff. So Dan's doing good.
Overall, Mr. Mayor, how are we doing security-wise at all the other schools and such?
I'd have to defer to the chief of police
Yeah,
on that,
there's-
but I'm not hearing anything.
No issues, haven't heard anything.
But we do-
Knock on wood.
Explain to people how it works, though, because we do know that, Dan's got one situation in the high school, but if there's a problem at the middle schools or the elementary schools, just explain to our audience how that takes place, because they don't have an SRO there.
Right. The SRO is just at the high school, and if there were, the school, the Board of Ed has security guards. They have security guards at the high school. They have security guards that float from the middle school in the north end of town to the E Green, Anna Reynolds, and the same holds true for the south end of town at Wallace, Chafee, and Patterson. So they have their own security forces. They do lockdown drills. When they do the lockdown drills, they include us in those drills. So the police officers will go down, walk to school with some of the staff during the lockdown drills. They have an emergency plan for each of the schools that former Chief Rich Klett has. So he's drafted that. We have those plans as well. So as far as planning is very good. Should there be an incident, obviously patrol officers, the police department building, like any major call or critical incident, the building's going to clear out. Every available officer in the building will respond, whether sergeants, detectives, inside staff, everybody goes. We're well prepared, we're well equipped. They have security cameras that we can access as well. So without tipping our hand exactly, all the secrets, but Newington, as far as when you compare Newington to a lot of other towns, we are so far ahead. It's people should feel secure knowing that.
Oh, I know.
that's
There's all kinds of things.
It's not a shallow statement.
No.
He's just saying that. No,
Yeah.
I'm not just saying that.
Oh, I know.
It's
One of the
it's
best
true.
police departments in the state,
Well, I think we
bar
can.
none.
I think now that you've said that, we can let them leave. We got.
That's a great.
Thanks a lot, Chief. I appreciate it. Have a Merry Christmas and a Happy
you.
New Year.
Thanks.
And don't go too far, because the guys in the back room are gonna come out here and try to
Detach you.
disarm you. Try to get all your
He's
wires and
he's
technical
going-
stuff.
He's going to shoot it, I can say.
All right, there he
well,
is,
that
it's
was
Steve
good.
Clark, and again, the police officers in Newington PD are wonderful, and they also do some great things down there. If you ever want to call the police department, I know they offer tours of the police station. I believe there's still an opportunity for if there's someone interested in going into police work. I think there's still some ride-alongs, right, Steve? You could do that. So if you're interested, maybe if you know somebody who's interested in being a dispatcher, start by calling the main number, and then Steve, if somebody does call, I know you're leaving, but who do they ask for when they call there?
They can just ask for the training sergeant,
Okay.
and Chris does all the recruitment as
Okay.
well, so they can just ask for the training sergeant.
All right.
Good.
Thanks a lot, Steve. Yeah, just call and ask
Thank
for
you,
the training
Chief.
officer, Chief Steve Clark. All right, now, so Mr. Mayor, we've only got about
Hey.
15 minutes left, so let's try to.
Did you see the moon
Oh, my
as you were driving in tonight?
Unbelievable.
That's the
Unbelievable.
the supermoon.
Supermoon, and I
It's a
heard it's also
super-
called the Buck Moon.
And it's also called the full cold moon.
Really?
I'm finding out, but that was some moon. As I was driving down Robbins toward Willard, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. It was so big, so
Oh, yeah.
beautiful, so orange. It's one of those times when the moon is closest to the Earth, and it's in an orbit. And of course, the sky was clear enough that you could see it. Maybe it's a good omen for the rest of this year and the beginning of next year.
tell you,
I hope so.
The weather's been great.
Yes.
As we have some different discussions going on in town right now. One of them was Bill DeMayo was really pushing hard for a dog park. So how are we doing on the dog park? That's a question from Abby.
We're waiting. Let's see. What the council did was approve his application for a grant, but with the understanding that the rest of the costs would be done by contribution. We felt very uneasy about diverting any tax dollars toward that, given the general situation facing the town. So,
But
I haven't heard anything since then. Of course, Bill's had his hands full. He did a great job with the holiday lighting
Amazing.
2 nights ago.
And they always do one of my favorite things, which is when they put that wreath on Mill Pond Falls, and you go
Oh,
by
yeah.
at night and just hear that, just see
yeah.
that spotlight on the
Yep.
wreath, because that says Newington when you go by our falls. You know,
Absolutely.
yeah, that's beautiful.
And speaking of wreaths, we have wreaths across America coming up honoring fallen veterans.
Oh, really?
And that is on, it's going to be across the nation December, I have a note on it, December 16th. And it's going to be a ceremony,
December 16th.
yes, at West Meadow Cemetery,
Okay.
at the
December
Veterans
16th. So that's
Monument.
okay.
There.
It's a
And,
Saturday.
not this Saturday, but
Next.
and I'm trying to find the time, and hopefully I can find the time. 12 noon. Here we go.
And what is it called again?
Wreaths Across America.
Across America.
This happens all over the country. We'll be doing it at noon on December 16th, West Meadow Cemetery. It's sponsored by May Davis Stotzer, American Legion Post 117. And I was there 2 years ago. Very impressive ceremony. Each of the flags for each of the branches of service received a wreath, and of course the veterans were there. Boy Scouts were there. Again, quite an impressive ceremony. So be there.
Oh yeah, that sounds like a good one.
Yes.
And also, I want to make sure because sometimes we rush at the end of the program.
Oh, yes.
And we did lose us since the last time you were here. We just lost an amazing educator here in town,
Walt Block.
Yeah.
Walt Block. What a great guy. What
Yeah.
a great guy. It's really is a loss. I mean, I knew him through church. I didn't go to Newington High School, even though I'm wearing the Newington High colors today.
Yep.
But I got to know him through church. Amazing guy. His wife Barbara's still going strong. I saw
and the
her
two
at
of them
church
were-
yesterday. They were.
She is amazing, and the two
Yeah.
of them with their square dancing all the way
yeah.
through their 80s.
Yep.
Taking care of the home. I was over their house one time, a little house over on the other side of town, and
Yeah, off of New Britain Avenue.
and Barbara's just we're having dinner in their little their dining room. She goes, "This floor, Walt took down the trees in New Hampshire, then had the wood milled,
That's
and he put
Walt.
the floor in."
That sounds like Walt.
he could do anything.
He ran his syrup line as long as he was allowed to
Yep.
drive up
Yep.
there.
Yeah.
And
They had the family home out in the vineyard, very modest home, and
Yeah.
he'd run out there for the day to straighten up a fence or something
That's
and come
right.
back home.
And I remember a month or so ago, he was fussing to me about how the keys had been taken away and how he was complaining about Barbara's driving. So
Well, they love Cedar Commons. They set the
Yep.
community up
Great
there.
place there.
And I know Barb loves it up there. But I will tell you, I was very, very blessed because they practically adopted me. And Barbara was honored to call me, their other son from time to time. And Walt had carried me through some pretty tough times through the last 10 years or so. He was always there.
Good.
And always walking his dog up at the field.
Oh, yeah.
We'd always
Yep.
be up at the field,
Yep.
young farm, walking the dogs. And
Yep.
you walk with him, and it was like taking a science course.
Oh, yeah.
The birds like
Yeah.
yourself
Yeah.
and the trees and all
Yeah.
that stuff.
He
Amazing.
knew all of it. He
Yeah.
knew all of it.
I know. I
Yes.
called him the father of the field. And also, our prayers go out to the Schnur family. Jessica Schnur and their family was here in Newington for a long, long time. And we just lost her suddenly in a car crash a few weeks ago. Jessica was just a beautiful, beautiful young lady inside and out. And hadn't seen her in a long time, but she grew up and kind of hung out with a lot of with my nephews and my family, and really just a heart of gold. And I can't even fathom that. There's an accident they were in on the Berlin Turnpike, coming out on the Berlin Turnpike, and a tractor trailer truck hit him, And so our prayers go out to them, especially, I can't even fathom going through something like that. And that is such a this time of year can be so delicate for a lot of people.
Yeah, this is a tough time of year.
And your church has been really busy over there, Grace Episcopal. All kinds of holiday things going on, huh?
We had the holiday fair a couple of weeks ago. The bishop did his annual visit yesterday. So that filled the parking lot. It was nice to see so many cars and so many pews filled. And just going strong.
How, in general, I know with the Catholic Church, they're combining the two parishes right now, Holy Spirit and St. Mary's. How are we doing with the rest of the churches around town?
Well, I know in our case, our Sunday attendance is down. I think it's that way in a number of the parishes. On the other hand, Emmanuel Baptist, seems to be going great guns as far as Sunday attendance goes.
And Joel with Mill Pond is...
Joel at Mill Pond and Steve from Cedar Mountain have merged into, what's it called? Every day, I can't remember the name.
Are they at the Kiwanis? No, are they at the Sphinx Temple?
They're at the Sphinx Temple now. Yeah, they've combined parishes. I was there for the first service, and Gary Byron was there with me too. Great turnout. Talk about, I can see the combined congregations ultimately getting their own building if the enthusiasm continues, and I think it will. I really do. Another one is the temple, the Indian temple on Church Street pulls the people in too.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah.
It's the only one in the area, so of course it's a draw. They do a lot. They give back to the community with their health fairs that they run. Great place. Something I'd like to learn a lot more about.
And I had the opportunity to go to the to Gary Byron's shindig when he got married to Sharon.
Yes.
Had quite a congratulations to Gary and his wife.
That's right.
But and Gary, my sister's neighborhood up by Eagle Park.
Right.
Every year at Thanksgiving, they do a walk and they collect food for the food bank. And then Kathy Morgan and her husband Jack, my sister and her husband, they put together one of these outdoor lending libraries. Have you seen those things now that people are doing?
The little library. There's even one on Mazzicoli Way outside our library.
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
And people take a book, put a book back, whatever you want to do.
There you go.
Yeah, and it's good to see people come out and support stuff like that.
So.
But I guess before we wind up here, we will be going into the new year, and January 8th is going to be our next program. As our second-term mayor, what do you see as the biggest challenge you're going to face in 2 years, especially with the way that the council is set up and the Board of Ed, and how you feeling about it?
It's going to be meeting the costs of running the town without ticking off the taxpayers. That's what it's going to be.
Well, those car taxes found a way to get into my mailbox.
But I mean, the fiscal aspect's going to be the big challenge. It really is.
You have a few other things there you want to cover?
Oh, we got to talk about food and restaurants. We always talk about food and restaurants.
We got it. Okay, what do we got?
Five and Dime Canteen is open. I highly recommend it. I went over there and got a roast beef sandwich for lunch.
So they're doing breakfast and lunch over there, right?
6 a.m. to 3 p.m. Breakfast and lunch. Limited menu, which is good because that means they can get your order out quickly.
And they start open at 6?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, that's
6
great.
to 3. They make a point of saying you can get breakfast or lunch all day while they're open.
Wow, and it's interesting because I saw right up, I think in the calendar section this past Thursday.
Yeah.
And they nice write up on it there. It's great to see that kind of growth.
Yeah.
They're really Newington's getting to be pretty good for their breakfast menu around town, huh?
You bet. I got to hit Little Cakes for breakfast sometime this week. It's been a while since I've been there, so I got to do that. And then, of course, I got to use my inside sources and find out when Envy Cafe has the lasagna soup, because that is to die for.
Lasagna soup?
Lasagna soup.
That's not
to
too
die
bad.
for.
Oh my gosh.
To die for.
Well, what about when you go along and see the stuff that's leaving us? Have we? I know we do have some empty spaces on the Berlin Turnpike. How are we doing as far as marketing, like the Bonefish and some of these buildings that are?
Bonefish hasn't seen that much action yet, I don't think.
And Hayes has got that beautiful space next to Bob's Discount Furniture.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that hasn't gone yet.
I know, and it'll go. I mean, the Turnpike's a big draw. Sam's Club's done a big renovation.
Mm-hmm.
They're planning the grand opening for that at the end of the month.
Oh, okay.
Got Eversource in that old building that's coming down. They're planning on marketing that.
Which old building is that?
The 3333 next to, it's way down toward Raymore and Flanagan.
Okay.
And Best Buy, that area.
Okay.
Yeah.
And speaking of which, I mean, the Wooden Tap is doing great down there.
Oh, yeah, they're doing okay.
And the one thing I will say that's wonderful about that, it's gigantic.
Yes.
So if it's a Friday or Saturday night and you got to wait too many places, a long line,
I know.
they'll get you right in there pretty quick.
Although I've had to wait at Wooden Tap too.
Really? That's getting like that too?
Which means, they're really pulling the people in, and that's good.
That's fantastic.
Good.
Fantastic.
Great cheeseburgers.
Oh, yeah.
Great
yeah.
cheeseburgers.
You're not going to miss on that menu.
I hope my doctor isn't watching.
And how are you feeling? Of course, we know this first 2 years you gave us a couple of scares.
I'm feeling fine. Today I walked all around the main floor of the town hall without my cane.
Good for you.
Despite the fact people were screaming at me and saying, "Where's your cane? You're going to fall flat on your face." And I said, "No, I'm not. I'll show you." So
well, I think it's wonderful that you've shown up at everything, and in many cases, and Gary Byron again, he's also been wonderful that way.
Yes.
You guys are always 2 by 2.
That's right. The dynamic duo. As a matter of fact, right now he's off at the MDC meeting and the hearing on the budget for the MDC, which, as it went out, was looking at a 10% increase in water rates.
Oh, good. Well, we can end on a happy note.
Bah humbug to you, too.
Oh, God. Well, we'll all get through it together, that's for sure. And Merry Christmas to everybody out there who's watching the show.
Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah.
Happy Hanukkah.
Coming up. And
what else we got? Kwanzaa coming up. Happy holidays. Everything. Cover everything?
Well, let's see. We got Volunteer of the Year. Get your nominations in by December 31st. Volunteer of the Year.
That goes to Human Services, right?
That goes to Town Manager's Office for Volunteer of the Year nominations.
All right. And again, speaking of volunteers, we want to thank tonight Scott Allo, Michael Delgado, Vicki Rosenkrantz, Robert Blank, and then Robert J. Blank, John Donahue, Pauline Kruk, and it's great to see Pauline again here with us. Good to see you, Pauline. All right. And again, we couldn't do any of this without the volunteers, and of course, without you watching. And we'll see you next time. And again, we're coming back on January 8th. Write your questions down between now and then, and we'll see you. I'm Steve Parker. He's your mayor, Mayor Z. Happy holidays, man. Take care.
Merry
Good night,
Christmas.
everybody.
Happy Hanukkah, everybody.
Good night. Abby, let's hit the road.